What's up, everybody? You know what time it is. It is Tuesday. And whenever Tuesday comes around at this time, you should just be looking with anticipation for another episode of The Life of an Entrepreneur. Listen, we have a great guest. And because of that, I'm not going to say too much outside of what I normally say, which is get ready to take notes, get ready to get some gems, get ready to understand how you can more successfully navigate this journey called the life of an entrepreneur because it is a journey and we want you to enjoy the journey. So, listen, sit back, relax, get ready for this next episode of The Life of an Entrepreneur. Let's go. All right. So here we go. Having some sound issues today. So hopefully you all can hear me. If you cannot hear me, please let me know if you can hear me or not. I think that you can. Let me check some sound here. Let me make sure everything's going good because I don't want anything to mess up this time that we have with my guest today. So let me make sure that you can hear me. We're going to do the station identification test here. Make sure you can hear me. And I don't think you can. Isn't that something? Okay. All right. We're good. All right. We're good. We're good. Okay. Let's go. Welcome to another episode of The Life of an Entrepreneur. I am your host, Oliver Marcel, author, speaker, and coach in the relationship building and men's enrichment spaces with the goal to do what's on my t shirt. My t-shirt says 2020 before hindsight. And I learned so much the hard way, banging my head up against the wall, terrible decisions, horrendous mistakes. And it is my goal to help at least one person gain clarity on the front end before they do something, say something, become something, hang out with somebody that throws off the trajectory of their lives. That's me. I would love it. And I say this every week because it's my t-shirt. I would love for you to support me by grabbing a t-shirt, and you can do that anywhere that you're watching this. There is a link in the description to do that. All right. You know me, I always have a short word to say in the beginning, and it's going to be real short because we got Ian Genius in the house, and I need to get him up here as soon as possible. Okay. So here's what I have to say today. Today I was so over the weekend, I had the privilege, my wife and I had the privilege of spending some time with a group of married folks at a weekend retreat. And at the end of the retreat, what I was telling them was, and it's a faith-based group of individuals. What I was telling them at the end of this retreat was, listen, every time that information is disseminated. So if you think about schooling, if you think about college classes, whatever it is, anytime information is disseminated, there is always some level of evaluation that takes place. Now, this could be an exam, this could be a oral presentation, this could be a written paper, but there's always going to be something that comes up to kind of test your resolve in whatever area is that you learned. Here's what I want to say to you. Don't allow those tests that come cause you to stop pushing. In this life of an entrepreneur, there are some things that are going to come. Things may not work the way you want them to. Listen, I remember a time where my wife and I had set up a group coaching event, and we had done all the work that we thought we should have done. We were coming off the heels of a wonderful group event that we had just done. So we're on a high and we're like, man, let's do it again. We go through the process again and it flops. That's a test for us to test our resolve. Now, we could have folded, given up, and said, hey, listen, we're not going to do any more of these things. Or you can go back to the drawing board and gain the lessons from that experience and flip those into something else, right? So just know that on this life of an entrepreneur, there are going to be tests, there are going to be trials, and there are going to be triumphs. Take all of them. Don't allow the negative, if you will, and I'm putting that in air quotes because it's not always negative. There's a lesson in everything, but don't take the things that are less desirable and allow them to cause you to stop movement. Forward progress is what we're looking for. It's what we desire. This is what we have to strive towards. All right. So that's what I have for you today. Real short. I wanted to keep it very short because we got sales trainer extraordinaire. Like, listen, this guy, the genius is in his name. Does it get any better than that? Right. So without further ado, listen, let me get my applause ready. We got Ian Genius in the house. Let's bring him on right now.
How you doing? All right.
I'm well, man. Thank you for being here. I'm very appreciative that you have taken some time out to hang out with me today. Listen, before we get into it, tell everybody who you are and how you serve the world.
So I am Ian Genius with an Ian Genius alternative to selling.
Listen, see, guys, didn't I tell you? He right from jump, he just started off. Did you catch what he did right there? Ian Genius with an ingenious way of selling. I love it. We got Barry Tate in the house. Shout out to Barry Tate. Learning the lessons and setbacks is key. You're right, bro. Learning the lessons and setbacks is key. So, Ian, ingenious way to selling. So, right off the bat, let's just jump right into the deep end. There are so many individuals who are leery of selling, or selling has a negative connotation and so they don't do it. Or listen, they're just not good at it. Let's just call it what it is, right? How does what you do eliminate that? Let's start, but before you get there, let's move in. Let's move up to that. But start with how you even got into this space. What caused you to be the person you are right now in this space? What's the backstory?
Okay, so I studied mathematics at Nottingham University, right? And then I left, got my degree. I've got no job, no money, no clue, no idea what I'm doing, right? I possibly considered teaching, running out of money rapidly, need to pay my rent on a house in Nottingham. Decided to take a job as a salesman, right? Nottingham, 1997, job as a salesman. There's only one slight problem I had with that.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely detest selling.
Mm.
Now, that seems a bit of a fundamental problem, doesn't it, to be a salesman when you have a
Right.
test of selling? I
Yeah.
found a lot of the sales approaches were sleazy, dishonest, greedy. I wasn't confident selling myself. I wasn't comfortable bringing up price. I dreaded closing techniques, right? Because I hate being sold to.
Mm.
I hate being sold to. I hate feeling like I'm being manipulated. I hate feeling like I'm being forced to make a choice I don't want to. People say, shall we take that to the till? It's like a fight or flight scenario. I don't want to buy it. I don't want to get into conflict with you. I don't want to explain why I don't want it. I don't want to have to make up a right load of old nonsense about I need to run it past my wife, but I'm not married. I don't want to take the wallet out of my front pocket, move it to my back pocket so I can say I haven't brought my wallet. I don't want to be in that scenario, right? The reason I'm not...
You know what's funny? You just described a whole lot of people just now.
I felt the pain, right? So I detest being sold to. The reason I wasn't buying it wasn't their inability to sell. The reason I didn't want to buy it is because they weren't making it easy enough for me to buy. You know, when I go to a shop, a food shop, no one stands behind me with a gun pointed to my head saying, are you going to buy this? Are you going to buy this? Are you going to buy this? When I go into a clothes shop, I find the clothes I like and I take them to the counter and I say, I would like to buy these, please. Right? Because I'm more than capable, more than intelligent enough to be able to construct the sentence, please, can I buy this? I don't need someone saying, do you want to buy it, and put me under duress, right? And that's the problem. A lot of sales approaches rely on forcing you to make a choice under duress, which then you then buy under, you buy under duress, you regret with buyer's remorse, you cancel abruptly, you tell everyone to avoid them like the plague, right? It wasn't about getting better at selling. So, you know, so in 1998, I'd become a salesman, the very job that I couldn't stand. But my background was problem solving. So I thought, what if I can outthink this? I'm Earth's thickest genius. I can think my way out of this. What if the problem wasn't I need to get better at selling? What if that was the wrong problem to solve? How do you get better at selling? What if that was the wrong problem? What if the problem really wasn't I need to, you know, I'm struggling to sell, I'm not good at selling? What if the problem was, how do you help clients make better choices? Right? It's not the same game. This isn't the same game, right? They have a problem, you've got the solution, and what you ultimately want in any business is to have that client make the best choice. The better the choice they make, the more likely they take the help, the more likely they take the better help. Whether that's you recommend 5 things, they only take 1, right? You recommend the gold thing, they take the bronze. Who's that helping?
Right.
They got less help, and then you got less business.
Right.
But why? Because they made a bad choice. They say to you at the end of the conversation, we'll have a think about it. There's no intention of doing that. You're never going to see them again. Right? So what stopped them making a good choice? And that's what I've spent 25 years obsessed over. How do you help people make better, more informed choices? Before the client can use you, first they have to choose you.
Okay.
You could have the greatest product or the greatest service known to man, but if they don't choose it, they're never going to know that.
Right.
So your service and product is not limited by how good your product or service is. Your product or service is limited by how good their choice is. So rather than getting better at selling, make it easier to buy. So when I say I teach an ingenious alternative to selling, it's not hilarious wordplay, although it is, right? It is. But I'm not showing anyone how to get better at selling. I'm not going to show anyone a closing technique because they stink. I'm going to show them what's actually stopping the client make a good choice in the first place.
You know what's interesting, Ian, is that that approach is very different than many approaches when you go to sales training. And you said some key things. You said before someone can use you, they have to choose you. And for those of you who are listening, watching the replay, that is significant because often we're not presenting ourselves in a way that we can be chosen. We're just presenting the thing that we want them to use, but we're not presenting ourselves in a way that they would even choose us to begin with. And then we wonder why they're not using the stuff.
So here's a key thing right at the beginning, right? This is true a lot of businesses, but it's certainly true of solopreneurs, right? They love helping clients. They love providing their fantastic service and they hate selling it.
Right.
And because of their hatred of selling it, that then stops them having meetings. It stops them asking for the sale in the meeting. Some businesses would rather give it away for free than sell it. And some businesses would rather fail than get good at selling, right?
Wow.
They would rather fail and not sell than sell. It's that much of a phobia and a fear for people that they'd rather give it away for free or actually just avoid it full stop until their business crumbled because they'd run out of money.
Wow.
Right? So
That's
If,
serious.
so businesses, every business helps people.
Mhm.
You help people. You help them improve their communication, whether it's a husband and wife that never get to the root problems, whether it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend where one of them's got, you help people, right?
Right.
But we love helping. Everyone loves helping. If a solopreneur doesn't love helping, why on earth have they chose that to do?
Exactly.
They chose anything to do. The thing that they love doing, that's the thing their business is about.
Mhm.
They used to work for someone else, but they didn't enjoy all of that. They enjoyed the one thing, and that's the one thing they set their business up. They love that.
Mhm.
They love helping clients and they hate selling. But
Right.
before they can use them, first they have to choose them. You've got to help them make a good choice so that you can help them with the thing you do.
Mhm.
It's not selling helping, it's helping.
Mm.
If you took the word sales and you picked it, you scrunched it up into a ball and you threw it as far away as you could physically throw it, you might as well, because it's not about selling them, it's helping them make a good choice. If your son was thinking about 3 universities,
Mhm.
right, you wouldn't sell him the universities, you'd sit down with him and help him make a good choice. The more you found out about the university and the social life and the distance from your house to and everything, the better the choice they would be.
Right.
You wouldn't put the word selling into helping someone pick a university. If you were trying to help your daughter find the best place to have a marriage, you wouldn't sell them that. You'd sit down and help them.
Mhm.
Suddenly, because it's about their own service, the word selling comes in and they've got to sell it.
Mm.
And all they want the person to do is make a good choice. So the thing they would normally do, which is help someone make a choice, has suddenly gone out the window and been replaced with this horrible word of selling that's all about manipulation, convincing, persuading. And it doesn't stack up.
Yeah.
It's just
That's
completely unaligned.
and it's very, man, it's very different than what we're taught, but because I think that the reason why, and you said this, there's such a phobia around this because we haven't looked at it from that perspective. We've looked at it from the closing technique
Yeah.
perspective. And how do you close? And how do you upsell? And how do
Oh,
you downsell? And how do you make sure that they're always at the table and they're being berated with stuff so that they can finally say yes. And I've been in a situation like that. I,
yeah.
I remember clearly in a situation where it was just like it was to the point where I felt so guilty for not saying no that I tried to figure out how to say yes just so the conversation would end. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what we've been taught to do. And what I'm hearing you saying is that that's ridiculous. Like that's not the way to do it.
Again, think of something that you want to buy. Let's say it's a music CD, a new television, a new car, and you wanted to buy it.
Hmm.
You could say, I'd like to buy that, please.
Right.
Right? So why didn't they need a closing? Why didn't they need to say to you, Oliver, do you want to buy it? Because you had already said, I do want to buy it.
Hmm.
You go to a restaurant or a pub, you say, I'd like 3 pints, please. Whatever, right?
Hmm.
The reason people need a closing technique is it's not easy enough to buy,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
If I said to you, if you gave me £100 and I gave you £1,000 back, how many
Hmm.
closing techniques would I need? Or would you just go, yes, please?
Yeah. None.
Right.
No closing techniques. It's a no-brainer.
So if I say you give me 100 quid and I'll give you some training and you don't know if it's obvious and I have to use a closing technique, it's because it wasn't blinking obvious.
Mm.
So rather than force, so it's like the bit before was so poor that to make up for it, you do something at the end. But it's the wrong thing. It's like saying, if you kept smacking your head against the wall, you could keep taking headache tablets. Or
Hmm.
you could stop hitting your head against the wall, you'd never need headache tablets,
Right.
right? Closing techniques are headache tablets. You
Mm.
don't need them in the first place. If you made it easy enough to buy, they would say, I want to do that. You'd never need to. So I spent 25 years. I've got a fear of rejection. I don't want people saying no to me.
Hmm.
And I don't like putting people under duress.
Hmm.
So I'm knackered. Right, I'm knackered.
Yeah.
Don't want to hear no's, and I don't want to put people under duresses.
Right.
So for 25 years, I created a method that makes it so easy to buy. They say, I want to buy it, so you never need to. I had a phobia of saying, do you want to buy it?
Hmm.
So if I could make it so easy, they said, where do I sign up? How do I pay? It
Hmm.
was a defense mechanism for me, so I never needed to do it.
Mm.
And it's about the better the choice they make, the more help they take. The more help they take, the more business you get. The focus isn't on the business, the focus is on their help. How do you help someone make a better choice?
Yeah.
And that's what it's down to, helping people making better choices. And obviously I use some very simple numbers, 6-year-old simple numbers, Fisher Price simple logic, and jargon-free language. But that's the approach. So it's
I love it.
completely ethical.
Hmm. I love it. I love it. We had Gareth Wax in the comments said he really is. That this here's what I love about that. What I love about that is for those who are like you don't love selling, don't even like it, you know, and don't want to do anything that feels like I'm going to get a no, or this makes the approach, it just makes it so simple, and it makes sense, right? It
Yeah,
makes sense that, okay, if somebody wants to buy something, you've made it easy for them to make the best decision to buy it, they're going to come to you, and they're going to want what you have because that's what you do. Let me ask you this though: as you were developing that for yourself, what was it what was it that brought you to the place where you're like, you know what, I'm getting this for myself, but I actually want to train other people to do it? Where'd the training transition
yeah.
to?
So I was the salesman, and then
Mm-hmm.
I started working. I was working in some fantastic places, and I had very good friends with people. And you've got a lot of downtime.
Mm-hmm.
So I would show people my approaches. We were on the same level. I wasn't their boss or anything; they weren't mine. But I was just showing people this would maybe help, and la la la. Then as the years progressed, and I was covering areas and millions of pounds. And I'd have colleagues working with me. And then as I moved up to sort of national sales manager, sales director, then I had teams of people underneath me, or
Mm-hmm.
I was presenting for groups of salespeople in other businesses that we were linked to. And I was
Mm-hmm.
showing my approaches. So that's where the training started internally. My job wasn't to train people, but it was always something I loved doing,
Gotcha.
because with a degree in maths, I was very likely to be a maths teacher. So I
Mm-hmm.
love teaching people.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, I don't want people to be impressed because I've shown them something clever. What I love doing is showing them how simple the clever thing actually really is,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can teach themselves and they go, I can't believe how easy it is. Most people
Mm-hmm.
want the praise for
Yeah.
being clever. I want them to be clever by showing them what they thought was difficult is actually easy, right? Take a car. I know it's different in America, but normally 3 pedals, right? 2 feet. You've only got 2 feet, yet there's 3 pedals, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
complicated. If you get it wrong, you crash, right?
Right. Right.
You've got to look out for the road, talk to your children, listen out for the ambulance and the police cars, watch
Mm-hmm.
out for people running across streets. So that's hard,
Mm-hmm.
right? Getting to someone to realize that you've got a solution to their problems, not hard. But this is key for me, right? How easy is easy? When I got into sales in 1995, and I was at 1998 rather, and I was selling mobile phones, I imagined that everyone was my grandma,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what most people's grandmas are like, right? But my grandma wasn't particularly tech savvy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're explaining your service to your grandma, or if you're explaining your service to a 6-year-old child,
Mm-hmm.
they're not thick, they're 6, or it's a different world to them. So what
Right.
do? You
Right.
make it easier to understand.
Mm-hmm.
You use simple examples. You use simple numbers.
Mm-hmm.
You break the stages into smaller and smaller little increments that they can get.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've got it perfectly, so I was selling phones and I'd explain my services to someone, and in such a simple way that they really understood it.
Right.
Sometimes the husband would walk in, he'd been at the pub all day, and he'd walk in and he'd say to his wife, are we buying this? And she'd say, we're not buying that. And then she would explain everything I've just said, every single little nuance, every tiny thing. She explained it word for word, straight back to him. Not because she'd memorized it, not because she was looking at a piece of paper. She understood.
She understood it. Right.
And she never understood it before. And so my trust has gone up. My engagement's gone up because she can see I'm not selling her a phone. I'm helping her to make the best choice. Those two worlds aren't the same. So now what does she do when her friends say, I'm going to buy one of these phones that's not suitable? She says, no, you're not. You're going to speak to Ian. He helped me make the best choice. Suddenly in 1998, I've got a queue of people with my business card saying, I've got to wait for Ian. I've got to wait for Ian, right?
Wow.
I wasn't doing anything the other guys weren't doing, but the trust had been built with me. And they came, you helped my friend the other day. Can you help me? I'd become the doctor, not the salesman. People love doctors. People hate salespeople. I'm solving problems, so I've got to be the doctor.
Yeah.
So change the dynamic around. We're not selling, we're helping. Don't be a salesman, be a doctor. Help people solve problems.
Listen, for those of you who are watching the replay, that is a huge gem you just received, right? You're the doctor, not the salesperson. And everything that Ian has said so far, man, it's fantastic. We have Raj in the comments. Shout out to Raj in the comments. Raj said, I highly recommend Ian Genius. Ian has helped me gain 15 new clients for one of my businesses shortly after attending his excellent training. Now, if that isn't an endorsement, I don't know what is. And we're going to talk about how you can get in this training with Ian as well. I've taken it. I'm fresh off of taking it, and there's a good chance I'm going to take it again at some point. And I can vouch with Raj that it is fantastic information as well. And coming down to the end, we'll let you know how you can get in touch with Ian and the fabulous work that he is doing. Listen, I want to transition into something, but I kind of want to stay here for a second. This is great information. So once we've changed our mindset to the fact that, okay, listen, I'm helping, I'm not selling anymore. What is, and I don't want to, I really got to be careful with this question because I don't want you to give away any information.
Ask me anything you like.
Yeah. But we want people to get in this course, so I don't want you to give away too much stuff. But once that, because that's a mindset shift, right? So once that shift has been made, I'm like, okay, wait a minute, it's my duty now to help people make the best choice. What's the first thing you suggest someone do after making that realization?
Okay. So if you went to a doctor and you said, Doctor, how can you help me? So you just walk in, he doesn't know you from Adam. You say, Doctor, how can you help me? What would he say? Would he say, here's some cream for you?
No, he'd have to figure out what was happening first.
What's wrong with you, right? What's the problem, right? Most businesses think that clients don't understand how the solution being offered solves their problem. They think the conversations are going wrong because at the end, they're not quite sure how my service, my product gets rid of their problem. But it's worse because in most cases, the client doesn't even think they've got a problem.
True.
They don't understand what the problem is. Right? So most people they'll say things like, I do SEO, which there's the solution. There's your, just as a doctor wouldn't go, here's some cream. They wouldn't go, Oliver, sit down, here's some cream. You'd go, what are you talking about, doctor? I haven't told you what's wrong yet. Right? That's the solution. But they go, I do SEO. Great. I don't know what problem I'm meant to have. What problem are you solving?
Right.
Well, if you say to people, do you know what SEO is? And they go, yeah, it's search engine optimization. Okay, what is search engine optimization? I don't know. What they mean by I know what SEO is they know what it means, what it stands for as an acronym. Right? It doesn't. So they go, I do SEO. I don't know. Have I got a problem that you solve? Is that something I've got? Do I need that? I do VoIP. I might know it's voice over internet protocol. I'm still no wiser. What problem am I meant to come with? You're
Right.
giving me the cream before I know what I'm meant to have as a problem.
Mm.
So the best tip I can say to people is make them aware. What are the problems they've got? In my world, they're having conversations that are fizzling out. You know,
Mhm.
they're getting to the end of a 40-minute conversation. They've got the perfect solution to their problem. And at the end of the 40 minutes, they hear lines such as, we'll have a think about it,
Mhm.
never seen again. Or they say, it's a great service, but not for us right now, as if it might be in a day, a week, a month.
Mhm. Mhm.
Reality is you're never going to see them again because they're going to vanish. Or they say, we're going to do this next week.
Mhm.
Surely that can't go wrong. We're going to use it next week. But when next week turns up, hello, hello, hello. No, they've gone as well, right?
Right.
The conversation's fizzled out.
Mhm.
Something's gone wrong. Either they're getting ghosted.
Mhm.
There's a chance they might actually get a no, but most people don't want to give you a no because it's too confrontational. So they say, I'm going to have to run it past my wife. They're not even married.
Right.
They just made it up to get
Right.
out.
Just to get out. Right.
They're either getting ghosted or no's. They're getting clients on board, but they're always settling for the low ticket yeses. One, the bronze instead of the gold, one instead of five. So they're yeses. They're naff, or they're not charging enough money for a yes. They know their service is 2,000. They charge
Mm.
500. So they're gutted about being ghosted. They're settling for low ticket yeses, or they're struggling to charge what their service is worth.
Mhm.
They're fed up of conversations fizzling out. So they're the problems. So
Yep.
what are the problems that your service solves? If they don't have any of the problems, there's no point giving them a cream.
Right.
So get them to understand. Have they even got the problem? Do they understand the problem?
Mhm.
Before you even mention you've got a solution to it, they've got to have the problem first.
Mm.
So
That's
rather than telling people what you do, tell them the problem you solve.
That's good because then now they have something to identify with. And especially now, once they recognize or have been put in a place to realize what the problem is, generally they now are going to, in their mind, think, okay, wait a minute, I have this problem. Yeah, I do. And
Yeah.
then how do I fix it?
If you point out a problem to me, one, I'm going to start paying a hell of a lot more attention to see if I've got it.
Right.
But I can also spot it in other people now because
Mm-hmm.
you've just explained to me what this problem looks like, sounds like, feels like, smells like.
Yeah.
So not only am I thinking this is for me, because not everyone's service is for everyone. If you told me that you would make my horse better, I haven't got a horse, right?
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
if I know the problems of horses and know someone who's got a horse, and I can now ask him the questions that will set up the problem in the first place. So I
Mm-hmm.
have to understand the problem first.
Yeah, that's good.
And if I don't have the problem, why would you tell me the solution to no problems?
Mm-hmm.
I can make all the elephants in your house disappear, and then I could tell you another half an hour about how I do it.
Yeah.
I haven't got an elephant. What are you going on about? Pointless.
Yeah.
Just
That's good
pointless.
too. And I can attest, for those of you that are watching, I can attest to the fact that Ian has a phenomenal way of helping you craft that that problem, like helping you articulate that. We went through an exercise with him. I won't get into it all because I want you to get into the training and get the exercise. But coming out of that, we're able to do exactly what Ian just said, which is to be able to help folks identify the problem, which you can do all day long. It doesn't feel like selling when you're actually sharing with somebody what the problem is that you solve. So
It normally
that's
feels
awesome.
like selling when you say, this is what I do, this is the price. When you're talking about problems, there's no selling that.
Right. Yep. There's no selling that. And here's the thing for people who might say, well, okay, that you're right. There is no selling that. So how do I actually end up making money? What would you say to that person?
Well, once the person's got a problem and they know how bad that problem is, then at that point they're going to emotionally invest in the problem. And it's that point where they're going to be probably saying, you're absolutely right. I've got all these things. how can you help me? What
Right.
have you got that will get past it? They're then asking you, rather than you saying, I've got all these, I've got A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. They're going, please, I've got all the things you're telling me about. What have you got that will get rid of it? The dynamic has changed, completely directional.
Yeah. And there it is. That's phenomenal strategy. I love it, man. Listen, again, like I said, we're gonna find out how you can get in touch with Ian. Like Rod said earlier, highly recommended. The information in the class is great. I literally have my notebook sitting right here that I used in the class that has several pages of notes in it throughout that process. And so we'll talk about how we can get with Ian in a little while. But I want to transition into, because you did a big fix a while back, right? And you're familiar with the big fix space. Because this is sponsored by, and I didn't say this in the beginning, which I probably should have, but this is sponsored by Love Entrepreneurs, which is a fellowship of business owners, entrepreneurs that help ordinary people build extraordinary businesses. And they do this in a number of ways. Their signature dish being the big fix. And the big fix, if you think mastermind sitting in the hot seat, that's the big fix for individuals who are on all ends of the spectrum or all points of the spectrum, whether you have just started a business or you just have a business idea, all the way to someone who has been in business for 15, 20 years can get something from this experience. You're able to now sit in front of a group of people from all walks of life, from all industries, from all over the globe, and share your business ideas, share your vision for your business, share any pain points, ask any questions. And the group's sole goal is to pour into you ideas, suggestions, potential collaborations, potential connections with other people, systems that you can use to move the needle in your business. We're going to talk to Ian in a little while about his experience with the big fix right after we hear from my buddy Rob Howes. We'll be right back.
Well, my name is Rob Howes, and I just had a fantastic session, Big Fix with Love Entrepreneurs, and we did some big fixing. We found some areas to actually take a look at and open up and discover. We discovered some opportunities to bring more attention to what we're doing. And so it was a really fantastic dialogue. I'm looking forward to putting these things I learned and heard and the ideas I got, putting them into practice. Because practice makes permanent. That's what I heard.
That was Rob House talking about the big fix. Now, Ian, you've been a part of a big fix on both sides. You've been in the hot seat. You've also been a incredibly phenomenal contributor to others as well. I've sat in these as well. What was your experience with the big fix?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I came to my problem was, I work with a lot of solopreneurs one-on-one, and I'll work with sales teams as well. But I wanted to get out to more small business owners, more solopreneurs. I wanted to also give the opportunity for solos with a smaller budget that didn't have the budget for one-on-one training, the opportunity to do it. I wanted to try and create a stable where if 6 or so people came into one training at the same time, they could all help each other out because they'd start picking up on what other members were doing in the room. So my question was like, how do I get this going? How do I, I've never managed to get a group going. What is it that's missing? What am I not doing? What am I doing wrong? What do I need to do to get this a real viability? And I have now. So I've got a group going called Turbocharge Your Sales, where I work with 6 solopreneurs. So it was like, where can you you need to get a landing page going, and is there someone that can improve the words going on it, and someone who can look at the video? So little by little, it's like, what do I need? What's the sort of price point? What are the objections? What's the structure of everything? So now that's come to fruition. I mean, and since I had my big fix, 14 solopreneurs have now gone through this group training program on the back of the Big Fix meeting. So that I'd never had anyone, I'd never managed to get it working, group sessions before. And on the back of it now, and the first session was only like maybe the 8th of January or something of this year. So from the 8th of January to wherever we are now on the 20th of February, I've had 14 people, 14 solopreneurs go through that, four of which I've already done video testimonials, and I've only just finished one of the groups last week.
Yeah.
So it's made a huge impact.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you can hear that this Big Fix experience for many people is a catalyst to them actually moving the needle, because they get some ideas, they get some things that help them establish what they're looking for. Barry Tate in the comments says, great pointers. Ian is such a great coach to work with. Even his exploratory call will add tremendous value. So even if you get on a exploratory call with Ian, you're bound to walk away with value. I told you myself, I've taken his course as well. I was one of those folk that got into that program, and the information is gold. I mean, it is gold, because I will admit I'm one of those people who I'm not, because I don't want to be pushy, because I always remember that experience that I told you about, Ian, where I was just like, man, I feel so guilty now. I just got to figure out a way to say yes so this conversation ends. And I was like, I don't want to put anybody through that. But what I end up doing as a result is going to the very opposite extreme, where I don't sell anything at all. You know what I mean? And so I go through these calls, and it is blatantly obvious that I have the solution to their problem. But because I don't want them to feel like how I felt in that other thing, I don't do anything at all. And that I just me being honest, right? So going through that course and getting that information, man, was eye opener for me as well. So listen, if you want to be a part of a Big Fix, and you hear people every week who have talked about this Big Fix experience, you want to be a part of a Big Fix, you can reach out to me. You can leave a message or a comment anywhere that you are watching this right now. You can send an email to the email address that is on the screen. And you don't even have to start out by being in the hot seat. You can actually start out by coming and just being a contributor to the conversation and to the breakout rooms that we go into to try to help whoever it is that's in the hot seat, right? And then after this experience, you have some options. You get a great report of everything that transpired. You get videos of your experience, and you can take that and go forth and be great. We will cheer you on, pom-poms in hand, and watch you go be great. Or you can come back to the group, and you can do some work with the group in the way of implementation. There are individuals that are cleverly poised around the network, the fellowship, to help you in the implementation process. There is Silvertree that also allows for you to do business with these folks using its internal currency called Silver. So there's so many options for those of you. And so we want you to be a part of that. All right.
Let's add something to that Big Fix.
Sure.
For a second. So again, it's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know, right? Someone showing you loads of ideas is no good if you don't implement them, right?
True.
But if you go to the Big Fix and you only need 3 things, let's say it's your turn in the hot seat. You need 3 things. You need the honesty to say you're not perfect and you're frustrated. You've got to have a burning desire to do better. And you've got to have an open mind to new solutions. And then let your defense down. Everyone there, no one's touting for business. Everyone that gives their hour up is giving it out because they actually give us stuff. They genuinely care. They're giving an hour of their time away for no direct, I'm not saying they won't somewhere down the line, but then no one's going there to sell anything at all. They go there to listen to someone's business, listen to their frustrations, and offer advice. And if you're open to just expose your chest and let people, genuinely try to find the things that they think are causing you a problem and ideas, and you welcome them on, you don't have to agree with everything, but just bring them on, no defense, and then choose of all the things that we're recommending. I'm going to adopt that. I'm going to change this and change that. It'll make a huge impact. And like you said, if you don't want to jump in at the deep end, just turn up for a few, get a flavor of it. You'll see how the integrity is out of the roof. Everyone there has only one intention, that everyone else in that room is absolutely amazing. There's no devious reason for being in that room. Everyone there is genuinely trying to help out solopreneurs and small business owners with the same passions, the same problems they have. So turn up, have a look at it, and it will make a huge impact if you do the things that people recommend.
Man, that's awesome. Hey, Ian, with your permission, I'm gonna have to pull that clip and use that as a promo. That was awesome what you just said, man.
There's nothing like it. There's lots of groups I've heard over years. There's lots of groups that say we're looking out for each other, we're helping people, and I've heard it more times than you can wag a stick. This is the only group I've seen in reality where it actually happens.
Wow, man, that's amazing. Barry's in the comments says, I'm looking forward to the next big fix starting at the top of the hour. There is a big fix happening today, right after this show ends. There is a big fix that is happening. So if you happen to be watching right now and this is your first experience being introduced to that, and you'd like to use this opportunity to sit in, we had somebody watch the show 2 weeks ago or a couple weeks ago, and sent me a message right then and there, like, get me in there. I want to watch today. And they were a part of it. So if you want to be a part of it, you can reach out to me and we'll make sure to get that happening for you. Man, Ian, the time has flown by, man. I would love to keep you a little bit longer, but I know time is upon us. However, before we find out how we can get a hold of you and how we can get into this course, I'd love for you to give some advice to entrepreneurs. And normally I would set some parameters around this advice, but if you had a piece of advice, I'm not going to set any parameters around it today. If you had the opportunity to be in a room with a group of entrepreneurs and this is something you wanted them to leave with, if nothing else, what would it be?
Yeah, so it's just gluing a few bits that we've said. Help people make better choices, right? How do you help someone make a better choice? You make it easier to understand. If you don't think you've even got a problem, don't bother telling them about the solution. So we've got to help people realize the problems. The easiest way to understand the problem that you solve is tell a story. Tell a story that involves some characters, that has some emotions, the words that are used. Help people paint the sorts of problems that you solve for people. And once they start understanding what the problems look like, I can picture the scene. I can imagine the man over here and the woman over there. I can imagine him saying this. Help people understand. It's never been about selling. It's about helping people understand. What would you do if you were trying to help a 6-year-old? You wouldn't sell it. You'd make it easier to understand. And that's what it's always been about. Help people make better choices.
I love it. Help people make better choices. There you go, folks. As you journey through this thing called entrepreneurship, it is your duty to help people make better choices. That is a shift that you need to make. And if you need help making that shift, this is the guy that you need to talk to. So, Ian, how can we get in contact with you? I put your LinkedIn in the description of this show, wherever anybody's watching, so they have that. Is there anything? I know you got another course class coming up, right? Another cohort coming up, right?
I've got another course. It's called Turbocharge Your Sales from Zero to Hero in 3 weeks. It's not for people. It's not for solopreneurs that are struggling. It's for ambitious solopreneurs that aren't perfect. You know, if you're already converting all your face-to-face conversations into high spending, high ticket dream clients, then it can't be helped. But if you're fed up of discovery calls fizzling out, you want to know why, you want to do something about it. It's 6 hours of training over 3 weeks, 6 hours of group training covering confidence, simplifying conversations, and demonstrating value. It'll change your aspect on life. It starts on the 5th of March. I think you've just put the link in there. That landing page has got video testimonials, questions and answers, videos. It's a self-contained unit. But if I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn, if you can't find Ian Genius on LinkedIn, something's seriously gone awry. So if you've gone on the subscribe page and you want to ask a question, phone me, text me, email me. It's not a problem. And I'll answer the question as best I can. But yeah, that's the site for the next group session for 6 solos. Ian Genius on LinkedIn, or iangenius.co.uk is a website.
I love it. And so you have that on the screen. It is also in the comments in a couple of places where folks are watching this. So make sure that you get in touch with Ian. You've heard from Barry in the comments endorsing Ian. You've heard from Raj in the comments endorsing Ian. And you're hearing from me, the host of this show, endorsing Ian, because I'm not just endorsing Ian because I think Ian is a fantastic guy, which he is. I'm endorsing him because I actually did it. So I was actually a participant. So you want to get in touch with Ian ASAP so you can get in this cohort. And if for some reason you missed this cohort, you can get in the next one because there'll be others as well. So, man, thank you, Ian, for this time. Man, this is awesome. Give me another. Thank you for this time. Listen, stick around just for a minute or two. I'm going to close the show and just come back and say some words to you after the show is done, man. But I appreciate your time and your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Indeed. That was Ian Genius. You got to get a hold of Ian Genius ASAP. Okay. That's just the bottom line. You heard what he said. He has changed the perspective around this thing called selling that so many of us are afraid of, right? It's about helping people make good choices. And you should actually want to do that anyway. If you're in any level of service business or you have a product that you know is great, you should be in the business of helping people make great choices, helping them understand what the problem is so that they can identify with it in a way that allows them to now come to you looking for the solution. So you got to get with Ian. Also, make sure that you are taking the lessons out of every experience in life, like we talked about in the beginning, because this life of an entrepreneur is a journey. And the lessons help you to craft strategy that will allow you to enjoy the journey that much more. Okay. So this has been another episode, excuse me, of Love. Man, my voice is gone. So I guess it is time for the episode to end. This is another episode of The Life of an Entrepreneur coming to you from Love Entrepreneurs, which is a fellowship of folks that just love to see people win. They want to see people build extraordinary businesses using their signature dish called the Big Fix. Make sure you reach out to me if you want to be a part of that. All right. So we're going to end it here for this Tuesday. Thank you to Ian, our phenomenal guest today. Thank you to you, those of you who are watching now or watching the replay. Make sure you get with Ian so that you can become better at what you do and that others can see that in you and you can help them make a great decision. And that decision is you. And it's going to enhance your life as you go through this journey. We'll see you next week. Take care.